Hola, buenos días. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this event in which we will explore the policies on renovation that France and Spain are deploying. And this event, we can do it here because we have the support of the provincial authority, la Diputación de Barcelona. Estem molt agraïts de que vosaltres ens havíeu permès de tenir aquest event avui. And also thanks to the project EU Peers, within which we are having these sessions. This is the second session of 3 policy meetings that we are having at the European level. And the EU Peers project is a project focusing on communities of integrated home renovation services. That is, one-stop shops and other market agents who are helping to the transition of Europe towards a more sustainable building environment through renovation. Luckily, we are now more than 700 organizations all throughout Europe. In Spain, we have a very good community, and also in France, and we were lucky enough to have a representative from both countries today with us. So, je voudrais remercier Vincent Fuyet, who is Secretary of Strategy at the National Agency of France. Also, to welcome to Javier Martín, who is the Director General of Housing and Land in the Ministry of Housing and Urban Agenda of Spain. And finally, welcome Carmen Sánchez Guevara, who is Director of the Master of Environment and Bioclimatic Architecture. That's it. Thank you, 3 of you. I am Miguel Segovia. I work at Green Building Council, and with FilaoLabs, we are organizing today's event. So firstly, I would like for you to introduce yourselves and tell us what you're doing at your organizations. So maybe we can proceed from the end of the table towards here.
Thank you, Miguel. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here to talk about policies for housing renovation. So I'm coordinating at the national housing agencies the operational policies that we are developing. The agency has been created in 1971, so it's a really historical agency in France, and its aim is to develop and improve the existing assets in the private housing sector, so only on the private sectors. And for that it delivers financial aid to carry out work in private housing on different sectors for mainly now the realization of energy works, energy renovation works, but also for adapting housings for loss of autonomy and elderly people, and also for the securing of undignified or unhealthy housing. So we are approaching the whole housing policies to have a global vision and to be able to accompany the local authorities on their strategy for better enhancements of housing for people. And well, it's an agency with 50 years, and its mission has evaluated in the last years, mainly on the energy sectors, because the growth have been great in France for the credit we had and the credit we distributed on the last 5 years. I will have time to talk more about how we distribute these credits with local authorities later, but this is our main issues and main objectives now, is to help the energy transition for housing sectors.
Okay, thank you very much for the invitation. And I am Javier Martín, General Director for Housing and Land. And the Ministry of Housing and Urban Agenda well, it's in force in the state administration around everything about around housing. But it's true that in the last decade, maybe, or maybe 15 years, I would say, the different authorities from the state has been focusing with strongly to this matter of renovation of the housing stock, especially, and how to improve this the situation of the housing stock, especially also in terms of energy performance. No, and we have a very complex, as you probably know, a very different scheme of powers in Spain from. Related with housing in general, but also, of course, in terms of renovation, that makes that the three levels of administrations, the state, the regional authorities, who are in fact the exclusive competent in this matter, but also the local authorities, the municipalities, and for example, here in Barcelona, the metropolitan area has a very principal role in boosting different policies about housing, but especially in the last years related with renovation. In fact, we have a program or a plan that we boost every 4, or in this new program will be 5 years, that tries to set different programs to arise to the different problems that housings have in the population. Of course, rentals, but in these last years, we are trying to focus in the problem of renovation, not only related with energy poverty, but also related with comfort, related with all the indicators that shows if a home, if a building is behaving correctly or not. No? So especially this last period, we have supplied the around 3.5 billion of euros in renovation. The scheme of management is related with this complex scheme of powers that we have in Spain. So we designed from the state the requirements and the different programs that can be applied, but the management of the grants are done by the regional authorities. And in many situations, when we, for example, try to renovate a whole neighborhood, not only a single home or a single building, we have a very, very close collaboration with the local entities. No? So I think it's a complex scheme, but also a very interesting scheme of collaboration, no, between administrations and also between among the private sector, because we are in fact trying to create a new sector that previously probably there were a very few number of companies, of actors, of technicians, of in general people who were interested really in renovation, and we are trying to create an environment with finance loans by the banks, with a correct regulation of the different laws that affect to the communities of owners, and also with tax incentives that are working very good to trying to boost this kind of renovations with savings in consumption energy. So we are trying to create this kind of environment to not only to spend this amount of money that comes from the Next Generation funds, but mainly to create a path for the future, and to create a stable movement or economy, in fact, that focuses on the renovation, especially on vulnerable places, vulnerable neighborhoods, where we think that we have to focus the action of the public administrations, because we have to try to create a sustainable mechanism to favor the renovation without needs of subsidies only. We have to create this scheme of loans, a scheme of tax incentives, a scheme of certificates of energetic savings. This kind of a scheme that and of course the savings of energy, that it becomes in savings of money. So this scheme is what we're trying to boost in the next years and to give the continuity to this policy.
Thank you, Carmen.
Okay. Well, I come from the Technical University of Madrid, and as Miguel was saying, I'm the director of the Master in Environmental and Bioclimatic Architecture. And at the university, from the research group, what we've been trying to do for the last years is to create knowledge on energy poverty, on this population that, as I like to say, they are probably decarbonized, but they're suffering from extreme unhealthy temperatures, and especially given the increase of temperatures due to climate change, the situation will be even worse for them, and how to create adequate solutions, and also how to transfer this knowledge we are trying to create to the public administration, how to do some advocacy work, always based on science. An example of this work we've been developed for the last years, I've been the coordinator of a Culturalize project, which has been a European funded project, the first one funded only focused on summer energy poverty. We decided that energy poverty was already an extended concept across Europe, but that has always been focused on winter necessities. But we have been suffered already huge heat waves and a relevant impact on health, on population's health. So we thought, okay, we should do something with extreme heat, and what happens with this population that cannot afford not only the heating bills, but also what are going to happen with this population within the future years. So in this project we have worked basically on soft measures, which is something quite difficult for us because we are architects and we like to do like hard measures, but it was not the focus of the project. So we have discovered we can have relevant impact on population. Of course, hard measures are essential, but we've been recovering what is called the energy culture. In our country and in all the Mediterranean area, we have a lot of knowledge, especially in our grandmas. They knew how to behave during hot period, and it seems that we have forgotten about that. So there's a lot of work to do on that, on communication and to population, but also we have developed some interventions in the urban scale, and in here I would like to leave an important idea related to summer energy poverty, and it's the for us, this is the main difference between winter energy poverty and summer energy poverty. For winter, we can work only on buildings, try to isolate them, change windows, roofs, etc. This is something we already know how to do. Now we have to work on the financial scheme, etc. But we already know how to do that. But what happens when we try to renovate in a situation in which we have summer energy poverty? This is even more complicated because we need to work with the urban scale. We have to decrease temperatures at the urban scale, decrease the cooling severity. So people, they have like common spaces to gather like this, which have been very popular these last years, these cooling shelters. But also to decrease the temperatures, their buildings, they have to, these buildings have to face. And also increase, renovation should go beyond solar shadings. It's not only a matter of insulating buildings and incorporating solar shadings, which are the main strategies gathered in our technical code. But we need to start working on ventilation, but cooling ventilation. We need to start working on thermal inertia, which is not in our regulatory framework. So this would be like the main ideas I would like to leave here, like working with the urban scale, which is, I'm gonna complicate a little bit the formula, and also the incorporating more strategies to deploy them to help this decarbonized population to adapt to climate change.
Lovely, thank you, three of you. Carmen, a lot of ideas were popping in my head. We will go to them afterwards, but right now I would like to ask Vincent and Javier, how are the public funds for renovation being distributed and managed in your countries? I think, Javier, you already drafted a bit of this image for Spain, but maybe you can go into more detail in terms of operational and governance with different scales. But Vincent, we are looking forward to hear you.
Yes. Well, maybe to begin and to give you some order of magnitude, since 2020, the agency distributed almost 15 billion euros in the 5 past years to renovate almost 3 million houses. And we distribute these funds through 2 different networks. Because historically, since the 70s, and we are continuing now, we have a local network to distribute the funds in cooperation with local authorities. It can be the deconcentrated state services who are managing the fund, or local authorities with a delegation of credits, because we are convinced, you said it, that the local authorities are the good way to speak to people of housing issues, because they must manage their housing strategies. And so it is really a rich thing to have them in the question of what is the strategy locally and what do you want to do with the funds. So they are in charge of distributing, instructing the aid, and they are in relationship with the people who will benefit from the subsidies. And so this is the way the agencies worked for 50 years. Since 2020, and there were tax credits for energy renovation that was existing, I think since 2010 or something like that. And in 2019, the governments wanted to transform these tax credits into a new subsidies with the aim to spread the benefits of the subsidies for energy renovation broader over the population. And so they choose the agencies, the National Housing Agency, to develop these new subsidies and distribute it. So it was really a new thing for us, because to explain it, before 2020, we were distributing something like 70,000 subsidies per year. And in 4 years, we multiply this per 10, because in 2023, we distributed 700,000 subsidies. And so it wasn't possible to distribute these new subsidies through the historical network of local people, because it was limited in terms of capacity. And so we developed a new national network to distribute these new subsidies. That was, in the beginning, a little different, because on energy issues, locally and historically, with the lower income people, we were accompanying and financing global renovations, and this tax credit was works per works subsidies, and so we developed that, and it allows us to massify really the financing of energy renovation, and so we developed it on a fully digitalized platform, and it allows us to get to these amounts that are really big. This year we have a budget of 4.4 billion euro, and we have the objective, and I hope we will stabilize this for next year. But so we are keeping these two distribution networks, and we are now in after the historical phase, this really fast growth phase that we lived in the past year. We are entering in a third phase with the need of rebalancing the way that we work, rebalancing between the local and national networks, because after the massification phase, we see that it allows people to know better all that we can offer for energy renovation, and so the people that can benefit for local subsidies are asking more now, and so we see rebalancing on local network. Also, we have to rebalance between global renovation and decarbonization with just heating works or insulating works. And so this is also working, because we did a great revision of the subsidies last year on the national network to help better the global renovations. And it works a lot. I mean, we had lots of demand, more than our budgets, so it's other issues we had, but the good thing is that it works. People are interested in global renovation, and we develop around this a new economic sector also to accompany people in this renovation. And this is participating to this rebalancing of a good equilibrium between global renovation and renovation per gesture, because we are also convinced that the combination of two is a good thing to have, to allow people to do it at their rhythm.
May I ask you, before we move to Javier, the local network, I guess, is made by local authorities.
Yep.
And the national network is private, is Mon Accompagnateur Rénov', or
no, it's different. The Mon Accompagnateur Rénov', that is the assistant project manager we developed, and people have an obligation to contract with the Mon Accompagnateur Rénov' in order to have the subsidies for global renovation. It's on the both networks. I mean, the subsidies is the same on the local and national. The difference is that in local, all the customer relationship and the instruction of the subsidies will be done by the local authorities or decentralized state services. And on the national, it's contractors of the agency that is doing all this for us, and this is how we managed to do per 10 in 3 years, because we wouldn't be able to do this with public services. So this is how it works.
Okay, great, thanks. Javier, please.
Yes, well, as I advanced before, the scheme of powers in Spain is complex, but it's true that we have experience to work together between the different levels of administrations for a lot of years with the different plans of housing. So we are trying to reproduce this kind of collaboration between the administrations in the management of the renovation funds coming from the next generation or coming from the state funds, or and the scheme is a little bit different depending on the type of, or the type of intervention we are talking about. We talk about neighborhoods. We talk about renovation of neighborhoods that have a determined level of vulnerability, and undoubtedly it has to be managed and accompanied by the public administrations, and this usually lies in the municipalities, no, in the local administrations. It works with a specific budget that is reserved for that neighborhood, and we sign an agreement between the three administrations deciding that this determined budget is going to be for this neighborhood. So there is a management very close to the families and to the owners, trying to explain what we want to do. There is even in that, well, in general, but especially in that neighborhoods, we have a special subsidy for those who can't pay even the part of the work that cannot be afforded by the subsidy. So we can grant even 100% of the investment for those families that have a very special situation of vulnerability. But there is a close management with them, no? with this neighborhood, and as he says in France, we know that are the municipalities who really know not only where they have to focus the intervention, but also how to do that. No? And there are different schemes of management depending on the municipalities, but in general there is a one-stop shop office where you can be informed, but also you can manage all the questions, and well, we have to focus in the neighborhood on a specific office, public office, to develop the renovation. No? There are two more types of renovations that we, in Spain especially, because as you know, probably there's not a culture of renovation that comes from years, because we have a good climate, and people don't identify renovation as a need in terms of energy, of course, but they identify renovation in terms of accessibility or in terms of even comfort, no? But they don't link comfort with energy. They don't link comfort with the energy performance of the building. And now we are trying to show that this is a direct relation that can be faced, and in that way we're trying to show that an integral and a holistic vision has to be done when you try to imagine how to renovate your building. You don't have to to identify that you have a problem of accessibility, and so you solve that problem, and later you want to solve a problem of energy, and you have done something with the accessibility that is against what you had to do, and you have. So we are trying, and we have a program, a specific program that tries to in fact to pay the complete report about the situation of the building. This report has to tell the owners how is the building and which is the potential of increase their qualities. No? But it's true that if you have this global scheme, we are trying also to permit people to act by phases, and so that's why we have a program related also with dwellings, not only thinking about the whole building. No? And of course, the program of buildings not included within a specific neighborhood. So this different scheme is working with different scheme of management. Usually, the aids for buildings are called by the regional authorities. Also, the same with the dwellings actions are also managed by the regional authorities, and the neighborhoods, as I said, are managed by the local authorities. And there is a fourth scheme of tax incentives that is in fact from the state, because it's in the incomes, in the taxing, the tax for personal income, and this is really effective, because if you achieve a determined saving in the consumption of energy performance, you get a deduction in the tax. So you only have to prove it with the certificate of energy performance, with the previous and the post certificate. And if you prove this saving, you have the tax deduction. So even with this all this scheme, what we are trying also to boost is the collaboration of the private companies, because we know that only the public administration are not enough to reach to all the demand that could be in the next years or in the next decades. So we're trying to create an economical sector around the renovation, where the agent of the renovation is a company, a person, a technician, a manager, whatever, but that has to give a global solution to the families or to the communities of owners. No? And this is a question that we have trying to boost in the last years with the Next Generation funds. And in fact, they are now that they are sixth, they are saying us, well, are we continuing with the action? Are we continuing with the funds? Because we have a lot of work to do in the next years. And of course, we're saying yes, we are continuing the action with the next housing plans. No? In a very similar scheme, and in a scheme that probably will arise funds from the climate, the social climate fund from Europe again, but trying to introduce all the different funds by the same programs with the same scheme of collaboration between administrations, and trying to put the things easy for people.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will catch regarding the point on the climate social fund. Yeah. I will link it to questions regarding energy poverty, because we know that social climate fund should or must go to vulnerable households. So which is the status of vulnerable households in Spain? Maybe it's the context that you know better, but in general, also linking it to summer energy poverty, right? Because in Spain it is already a reality. Also, we have a very regional state in which some regions do suffer from winter energy poverty, other regions do only suffer from summer energy poverty, and how can renovation policies target it, right? How can we, before you said some ideas on we have to get out of the scope of the building, for example, but at practical level, how could we create better policy for that?
First thing is improving data to locate where these vulnerable households live, especially regarding summer energy poverty. We don't have a specific variable in statistics to detect that, so we are like blind to summer energy poverty. It seems that they've been saying that new statistics, they will incorporate this question regarding are you comfortable at home during summer, but I'm not sure what to expect from that. And yes, regarding these renovation policies, I think it's not only a matter of renovation policies, even though this is the matter that brings us today here, but it's also integrating different plans. For example, regarding health policies, now there are a lot of heat alerts in order to alert the population when a heat wave is coming, for example, but there's not a connection between these alerts and vulnerable population in terms of socioeconomic level. For example, the elderly houses, hospitals, they get the alert, but nobody made the connection, like let's alert vulnerable population. When you go to social services, get this advice as well. And regarding renovation policies, there are like different levels to work on. First, the urban level. It is true that renovation funds are focused on neighborhoods, but it is true as well that they are focused more on buildings. There's not a connection. Let's decrease temperatures in this neighborhood. Let's put more trees, green areas, eliminate asphalt. This kind of things are not connected. Also, these climate shelters, and I will take the opportunity I have today to say, okay, we are at a point like in Matrix, we can take the different pills. We're gonna face a huge increase on individual devices of air conditioning, because you go to MediaMarkt and you get one for 300 euros, if I'm not wrong. So this is like a key moment in which, okay, we can decide increase these individual devices for 80 square meters, for example. Or we can try to give a solution from a collective perspective, increasing thermal comfort in urban areas, creating climate shelters. So we don't need these so individual devices that are gonna increase the energy demand in summer. We are already facing that. And also it's not only a matter of decarbonization or increasing solar panels in houses. It's also a matter of we are facing a scarcity of materials within the next years. It's not only decarbonization. So we should try to be very, I don't know, to have some good austerity in how we create this comfort for these vulnerable households. Of course, housing renovation is crucial, but again, I insist, I know that nowadays it's difficult we have many barriers in renovation, and it's expensive, and basic solutions are based on insulating buildings, and if we are lucky, we change like windows, but we have to go beyond, and we have to promote like what happens with cross ventilation. What happens with these households that do not have cross ventilation? It's not only a matter of air quality. It's a matter of providing them a way to cool down, to cool down their houses. And also I've said like the urban scale, building scale. Also, I know this express renovations. I worked on that, and it's like the not the best one because it's not like the full building, but sometimes we have to go for this type of renovations. And also the individual counseling, if we can say that, like this, recovering this energy culture and how to use your house, because we've been living like in an era of cheap energy, and we were used to do not use blinds during the day because I can turn on the cooling, or not ventilating during the night. So we need to recover all these low-tech techniques because the challenge we have is huge, and so this the efforts would be like in different scales.
Then I think a complex system is appearing, right? We with Javier, we were seeing this multi-level collaboration, but now with you, we are seeing the transversal collaboration. It's not only about isolation and buildings, but it's urban scale, it's health, it's culture, and which can be an approach. Are we tackling that on our renovation policies already, or should we, or maybe we need to collaborate with other agencies or partners? What are your thoughts on that?
I agree completely with what Carmen was saying, because in fact, when we made this kind of studies of vulnerability, it's surprising that, well, it's not really surprising, but we can see with data that vulnerability is not only concentrated in determined neighborhoods. Vulnerability is spread in all the city with punctual families that live in buildings with other families that are completely healthy in terms of money. No? So it's very complex to focus this problem and agree completely that the question begins with the urban planning and with the design of the city, how we approach to the public space, and of course, if we only go to install devices, individual devices, we are complicating the situation more and more, because the heat that these machines are throwing to the air is increasing. No, so it's true that we have a problem of expertise and of know-how. We don't have this culture that is individual, or it was familiar, or it was inside of the thought of the people of the place. No, that in fact this culture was also applied in the design of the city, because the streets and the shadows and all this way to establish or to stay in the territory. We have lost this culture and this kind of this way to design the cities. No, so go back to this with a consolidated city. Sometimes it's very different. It's very difficult, and we have to do this approach with the public space. We admit, in fact, for example, when we renovate a neighborhood, when we establish in the next generation funds, but also in the other state programs, we allow to spend funds in the renovation of the public space. The problem is, how do they do that? No? Probably because they don't have the public administrations, the local administration, and the technicians in the administrations don't have they have lost the culture of how to approach to the climate through the space, the public space, and the situation of the buildings, etc. No? So of course it needs a very close collaboration between who know especially how to do that and who have to do that in the administrations, especially in the administrations, no, who are the powers of the urban planning.
if I may there, I will also continue this conversation in France, because what we are saying for Spain is that we have lost the culture against heat.
Yep.
But maybe in France, you never had the culture against heat in some parts of France, and now you will face it because climate change. And I don't know, maybe Limoges will have the climate of Marseille.
Maybe in Limoges or in Paris, but well, I'm from Nice, so I know the H culture. But we lost it as Spain lost it. Yes, that's for sure, and we have to find it again in a new way of seeing our cities. I think that we have another issues in France that I think is less present in Spain, is that in the urban planning objective and architectural planning, the public services and public manager need to develop a new vision of the cities. And in France, there is kind of a conservative vision of architecture, and it is really an issue for energy renovation, because for external thermal insulation, for solar shading, all this stuff we had to put in place for thermal comforts and more of a summer thermal comforts. There is a lot of place where you will have decisions that will say not on this building or not so close to this other building, and we have to convince the authorities and that the architecture has to move to a new era in order to fight these issues.
Very interesting. I think that that's a problem that we will deal in Europe in general, because we have very heritage cities everywhere. So in some places it will be harder than in others, but it's a topic to also address. Before we move to the next question, I would like to ask my colleague, Sébastien Descours, who has also been part of the organization of this event, to get up to the... maybe, do you want to stand up? Yeah, it's okay. Because you, in FilaoLabs, you have developed this analysis on different steps of the renovation and actors. So maybe you would like to tell us about it, and please, here is a microphone for you.
Oh, okay. Oh my God. That looks. Thank you, Miguel. It's so well organized. So I'm very proud to be here, because I am an admirer of what Spain is doing now on the facts, the energy you are developing in that field, but so many fields. I'm Sébastien Descours. I work for FilaoLabs inside the EU PAREER-CRECE program, but we have another program. A big project is to create a video renovation bank to help the banks to finance the market and to let nobody outside this absolutely emergency, which is renovation of the habitation. What's important there? That's all the different steps of a project, a renovation project. What you can see, you will receive it by email, but what you can see is that there's a major pregnancy of what is technical. So this renovation market was first built as a market. What is a market? The market is a place where economic actors want to increase their revenues and earn money. That's why they speak mainly about technique. So this market began with technique, but we forgot people. And that's the major issue. Where is the guy? Where is the lady? Where is the family? Where are the needs of all these people? And we forgot people in two ways. The first one, they are in the center of the project. So how can we communicate with them with simplicity? We are building a huge amount of complexities of this market, but the normal people doesn't understand how it works. So we have to be simple. How does it cost per month? For what? For how long? That's the only thing they want to know. They don't want to know all about techniques on subsidies, on taxes decrease, and so on. So no, how much do I pay per month? That's exactly what they want. So we have to solve that. The second thing, we forgot them because, I mean, they are in the center of the thing. They use the installation. But are they able to use the installation? It's exactly what Carmen said. We have forgotten how to use our own house, how to be very simple in terms of closing windows, opening windows in the night, not to have too hot or too cold, and so on, so on. So this path of renovation, you can see it: information, studies, commitment, realization, reception. And there is a very important thing here: usage control. So that means that's a 12 steps project plus one. And the plus one is for me more and more important, is how will the people use the works we have done. The second thing we have in terms of very complicated is financing. So that's why we have to construct, that's Fideo Banque de la Rénovation, we have to construct simple things for people so that 95% of the population could profit, could benefit of a renovation. Now in France, when you want to have a credit, there's only 1/3 of the population who can have a long-term credit because the others are old, sick, indebted, or they are not owning enough money. So that's a very important thing to understand, that 2/3 of our market is not covered by banking long-term finance. So we have to solve that also. So my 3 messages: first one, simplicity. Second one, people first, people-centered activity, not economic-centered activity, people-centered activity. And the last one is how do we manage to support them and to educate them to the use of their house.
Lovely, thank you very much, Sébastien. I think this is a very useful tool. This table is a very useful tool to reflect on the market we are creating, because indeed we are creating it. And I would like to continue with the questions, because as we saw in the table, we have a starting or emerging renovation sector that is very fragmented. There are new agents, there are new business models, some are not already time-tested, and we are starting to have these new figures in regulation. For example, the one-stop shops at European level. Now we should be starting to have it in every national legislation. But also we have, for example, in Spain, the agente rehabilitador, or a very similar figure in France, Mon Accompagnateur Rénov. So I would like that we can reflect a bit on the market. So Vincent, if I may start with you, what do you think? You are a national agency, so you have kind of a centralized figure that can manage the market at very high level. So what do you think are the benefits of having a national agency as such and to implement the renovation policies?
That's a good question. I would love to be able to manage the market. Well, as I said before, I think the benefits of having this agency in France, and that is an agency which is kind of powerful. We have big budgets, and without this agency, I don't think that we would have been able to do the growth we had in the 5 past years, and the credibility energy renovation has today in France. Also, it's important to say that this is also not possible without the collaboration the national agency has with local authorities. I think this won't be possible with just a national action. the capacity we have, I think that moreover on I mean, we are distributing subsidies, but we are also managing the public services network that is called France Rénov in France, and it's a brand that has been created in 2022. And it's important because in terms of communication, we also have with our national capacities the possibility to communicate with large impacts, I think. And we installed these brands in people's minds that are now aware of the existence of a public service dedicated to this, with the local forms of it, but the brands is now accepted also by local authorities. That is another challenge, because the collaboration is not easy every time, but now also municipalities know that it's good for them to talk about France Rénov and to put their local climate agency under the France Rénov brands. So this is an achievement of the national. Also, between our two distribution network, the capacity we have at the national agency is to have some pooling of resources for instruction, control policies also. We have, I mean, one of our big topics this year is fighting against fraud. And for this, most of the capacity comes from the national, because it's really new things for local authorities to fight for. So we are here to give operational capacities for data analysis or things like that, but also to do some on-site control, for example, or methodological framework to help them to work on this. We have also the possibilities to develop tools, like digital tools that will be used for the national network of distribution, but also for the local one. So it's also some global economies we can do by distributing the same tools to everybody, and they will adapt for their own strategies the tools we are developing. That is mainly, I think, the force of the national agency we have, but it's, I mean, we are every time in discussion of where is the good level between national and local, and it's a perpetual topics in politics in France that is coming again now to know where is the best in what we should keep on a national level and what we should give or delegate more, because we have a lot between national and local today. I won't say anything bad, but I think like 70% of our budget is distributed by the local authorities. So it's really local-driven policy. But there is also another interest in the market issues, because I'm personally convinced that to allow the private sector and moreover a new economic sectors as Mon Accompagnateur Rénov for us in France, we need to give them some visibility. And the capacity we have are, as a national agency, to give a framework that will permit certain homogeneity in the policies, in the local policies, allows them to develop easily on different territories. And so we can see actors maybe that will grow faster than if we add specific policies on all territories.
I think it's really interesting, and the idea of having a brand and thinking that, okay, if we have a national target, national issue, we have a national mission, we have a national brand, I think is brilliant. I would like to ask Javier, because I think it's kind of the same debate, but in another position. Should we be very centralized, decentralized? And
yes.
In Spain we have the other position, right? So how can we implement all these policies through supporting structures, not only public, because municipalities and the regions, we know that they are very key in this process, but also in the private sector, one-stop shops, agentes rehabilitadores, and all these structures.
Yes, of course, that's very important. Finally, we end in the same point, because we need to collaborate with among the different administrations. So, with independence of the scheme of powers, the collaboration is needed. So this is I think a good approach. But what you were talking, not only the public administration will be able to reach the targets we have in the future and the next decades. No, we have a very, very ambitious targets that comes also from the Europe strategies or the Europe's plans, but also it comes from the national plan of climate and our different strategies, and to get those ambitious targets, we need the collaboration with the private sector. This is absolutely sure. And in fact, what we have to finally create is a system that only needs or mainly only needs subsidies and grants for those that cannot afford the renovation with other tools like bank financing, with the savings in terms of energy, of course, and also the increase of value of their buildings when they renovate the building, because they identify the renovation as a gain of value of the building, and also with probably tax incentives again, and this kind of the certificates of los CAEs, no, in Spain, of saving of energy, that is a commerce that now is beginning and is interesting to establish. No? And in fact, we are seeing that some companies are trying to develop. The other day, a little company, but and that is doing an intensive work. They told me that they don't need subsidies. They only need that the municipality or the administration let them to establish a little office maybe in the public space, in the street, where they can explain what they want to do in the buildings, in the dwellings, to the families, and convince them that only with the improvement in terms of comfort, in terms of quality of health of their life, no, and of course in terms of energy, they have to do something with their buildings that takes into account energy, accessibility, all the qualities of the building. No? So this is probably must be the last the end of our work, to focalize only in those who can't pay almost nothing because they don't have resources to afford a renovation, an integral renovation, in terms of scale, in terms of neighborhoods, but also trying to help those who in a community of owners can't pay what they all have decided to do in their building, but they can pay their part. So we have to help that family that is vulnerable and inside a building that is not vulnerable. This complex system needs needs the collaboration of banks, of course. That is now it's working. That banks are giving finance to communities of owners because they know that they pay, because they know that they're a good client, and because now with the current regulation, with the last changes we have done, they don't have to give the loan to every single family of the building. They give the loan to the community of owners. So this is much easier for them, and they only have to relation with the community, not with every family, and they don't have to look for the incomes of every family of the building. So this complex system that probably needs to use different tools, and that has to be managed by an agent, a private agent. I think this agent of the renovation is a key actor in the future, because as Sebastian said, someone has to explain to the families what is good for them, not for the country, not for Europe, not for the environment, no, for them, what is good for them, and how to do it easily, and how to understand that that is a question that is affordable finally. No?
Thank you. In fact, I have one more question for you too before we move to Carmen. Also, I would like to invite you to start thinking on questions, because we will have an open microphone and some questions after we finish this last round, and we will jump to the public. Regarding how public aids are given, I think there is also a very difficult balance on how public money is given to the market. Because on one hand, right now in Spain, we have been giving a lot of subsidies because it is needed to have a starting market, but at some point we will plug it out. How can it be done in a way that it doesn't stop the market, right? How can we do this transition? But on the other hand, I think in France you had debates at national level regarding inflation in aids, right? Because you can give aids in many different ways, and some of them may overheat the market. So I don't know, 2 quick reflections on that in each country.
It's really actual issues for us. No, well, we had these inflation issues last year. The subsidies for global renovation has been changed for really a better level of subsidies for the low-income people, and this might have created an inflation issues, and that's one of the reasons why the level of subsidies has been decreased this summer. And I think I'm thinking about how I can say it with a kind of a political representation. I mean, I think we have a lack of long-term political vision in France nowadays. I think we are kind in not really stable politics. And this is not really good for the policies we're talking about today, because we need vision, moreover a pluriannual vision. I heard you saying that you have a budget for like the 4 next years. Many people, actors, private and public in France, are asking for a pluriannual vision of housing policies that would really help on the issues you said, because if we can stabilize a vision for 3 years, for example, saying to the economical sector and that the public subsidies will decrease, for example, next year and will decrease also the year after, they can prepare. They can prepare their vision, they can prepare to work more with bank sectors, with other mechanisms, and it can accompany an evolution. We are, when the third phase, the rebalancing I was talking about, is about that also. How do we manage to continue to do more renovation with the stable budgets, because we know that France, as other European countries, are in budget constraints. So we have to do like this, and so we have to invent new schemes of financing without complexifying for the people, and that's also an issue, and that's I think the new role of public actors in this is to be the toolbox in order to make it simple for people with a really complex environment of financing and operational for renovation.
Yes, I agree completely with him. I think that's what I was saying. We know that subsidies are essential to boost the demand, but probably when we could test that the demand is increasing and the people want to renovate, you don't have to go to them to convince them that they have to renovate, but they go to the different agents to ask for them that because they want to renovate. This is the question, or this is the transition we have to make, as you said, from the subsidies to a sustainable scheme, economically sustainable scheme that allows us, the public administration, to focus in the vulnerable, and this is the key also for not being inflationist, no, for not being not make increase the prices with the supply of resources, the public resources in the activity. So I think that's key. So we have to design all this, and those keys are important. But the main important thing, even more than an economical vision, even more than energetical vision, is the vision of the comfort. No? I think, and the comfort and to be able to set in the population the fact that when they renovate their building, their home, they live better, they have a better quality of life, and they have a better house in all their performances, no, in heat performances, in cold performances, in terms of ay, no me sale en inglés. Sí, es que tengo que me sale en español. Acústica será algo similar.
Noise and yes, noise.
Yes, noises, and all these questions that can be directly be perceived by people is what has the key to move people to demand the rehabilitation, not to be demanded to. So.
Great, thank you both. Coming back to vulnerability and summer energy poverty, we have seen that we have new agents and market actors. We were talking before about how energy poverty can be embedded in policy, but how can these actors help us in energy poverty, because probably there is also lack of technical knowledge. but maybe they are very close to the citizen and can do a lot.
Yeah, there's a barrier in here. It is true that local authorities are the ones who are like face to face with the problem, and in many cases they have a perfect diagnosis of the problem. But it is true that it depends on the scale of the city. It's not the same Barcelona or Madrid than Lorca, for example. I've participated as an expert in the Energy Poverty Advisory Hub, which is an European hub that connects experts with municipalities. And schemes like that are quite good because sometimes these small cities, they do not have the capacity, not even the knowledge, but it's not a matter of training their technicians because they are for example, and they don't want more training because they cannot implement what you're training them. So, for example, for Lorca, they connected us, the experts, with the municipality, and they needed a specific report in order to deploy some actions, for example. So sometimes it's also related to the scale of the municipality. We cannot give them like more and more and more tasks because they cannot implement them. Or, for example, we work with Valencia, and in this case they have very good energy officers, and they are already giving advice to the energy poor, but they didn't know anything about summer energy poverty, let's say. So we trained them in order to improve the capacity of these officers. So sometimes could be schemes like that, like giving some specific training to municipalities so they better perform these aids within the same one-stop shops. Or sometimes new schemes, I don't know how, but maybe these schemes we will need to be deployed in some regions in which there is no capacity. So maybe, I don't know if like road one-stop shops, I don't know, for one community, because we cannot keep on increasing the already overwhelming tasks of these municipal technicians. So sometimes maybe a mixed solution like that could be an option.
Thank you very much for your answers. We will now pass to the public, the microphone, if you want. So if there is any question, the microphone turns off and turns on. So I don't know if we have any questions on the public.
¿Puedo hablar en catalán?
Castellano, maybe. Yes, yeah. The answer will be probably in English.
Mi inglés es muy básico. Me presento, mi nombre es David Compañón, soy de una cooperativa, Ética Habitat, que un poco con la diapositiva que nos han presentado, pues estamos en todas esas fases, excepto en la de la empresa constructora. Trabajamos, por ejemplo, digamos, la Oficina de Rehabilitación Municipal del Ayuntamiento de Barcelona, o estamos en toda la parte social del Programa de Regeneración Urbana de Barcelona, y sobre todo colaboramos con el Consorcio Metropolitano de Barcelona en toda el área metropolitana. Básicamente, como nuestro hilo conductor como cooperativa, es en barrios del Pla de Barris de Barcelona, barrios vulnerables. Es decir, no trabajamos, digamos, por encima de la diagonal en Barcelona. Quisiera hacer dos preguntas a Javier, ya que está aquí. Tengo también la suerte que mi familia en Francia, yo me llamo Compañón, vivo en HLM, conozco toda la rehabilitación energética que se hace, muy interesante también, pero con parámetros muy diferentes. Entonces, quería hacer dos preguntas. De los fondos Next Generation podemos hablar una semana entera, pero hay una cosa que, a diferencia de otros programas, ha facilitado mucho nuestro trabajo, es el tema fiscal. Entonces, especialmente en barrios vulnerables. Pensar que nosotros hay, en estos 3 años, cerca de 800 comunidades de propietarios en las cuales hemos hablado con todos los personas propietarias, no propietarias, inquilinos, ocupas, etcétera, etcétera, en estas comunidades, con un tiempo de madurez de iniciar el proyecto de más o menos 1 año y medio, ¿vale? Estamos hablando de comunidades en barrios vulnerables. El tema fiscal ha ayudado muchísimo, ¿vale? Entonces, ¿qué hay después de los fondos Next Generation al respecto? Tanto por el hecho de que no son no me sale en castellano, un guany patrimonial, un beneficio patrimonial que cotiza en la IRPF, como por el hecho de que la parte que uno dedica, que no está subvencionada, la puede desgravar en la declaración de la renta. Y el otro es el tema financiero, que salía muy claramente en la diapositiva. Por ejemplo, de las 120 comunidades de Cornellà, Santa Coloma, Hospitalet y Badalona que hemos iniciado obras, bueno, que hemos iniciado todo el proceso, cerca de un 20% han quedado fuera por el tema financiero. Es decir, el hecho de dejar la parte no subvencionada en manos en criterios de entidades digamos, con ánimo de lucro, ¿no? Como son los bancos, con unas condiciones de una morosidad inferior al 5%, en fin, ya no hablo de los vaivenes de los intereses y todo eso que ha habido, hace que tiremos por la borda 1 año y pico de trabajo en comunidades que se han esforzado muchísimo. Pues nosotros hacemos un diagnóstico, antes de entrar se hace un diagnóstico en castellano, organizativo, económico, de mantenimiento y de participación de esa comunidad, ¿no? Pero a lo mejor, como resulta que hay, yo qué sé, 2 entidades financieras, llámense Sareb o no sé qué más, que no pagan, ¿vale?, a la comunidad, pues son morosos y por tanto no pueden rehabilitar una finca que tiene una necesidad enorme y que los vecinos que están viviendo ahí han hecho todo lo posible. Es decir, ¿se ha pensado desde el Gobierno del Estado de que especialmente para esas comunidades haya un aval financiero público? Porque si no, dejamos, es verdad que las políticas públicas, como nosotros solemos decir, normalmente van a parar a los barrios o a las comunidades que tienen la capacidad económica para poder... ya no hablo de toda la maraña burocrática, bueno, espectacular, ¿eh? Es decir, es de récord Guinness la maraña burocrática que logramos hacer cada vez, que ya sabéis que para estas comunidades vulnerables es lo más fácil del mundo, es tramitar burocráticamente todo eso. Bueno, perdonad la ironía, pero es que además de todo, para eso estamos nosotros, ¿no?, para apoyarlos, pero en la gestión de todo eso, pero si después de todo ese esfuerzo financieramente quedan fuera, son las que más lo necesitan. Eso quiere decir que la degradación de ese edificio ya no es aritmética, será geométrica. Tendremos otro tipo de problema, ¿eh? Es decir, caerán edificios y a lo mejor hay muertos, ¿no?, por decirlo de alguna manera, porque hay barrios que están muy, muy degradados. Y si esas comunidades no pueden acceder a la financiación por mucho que se esfuercen, tenemos un verdadero problema que va más allá de las políticas públicas y el tema fiscal. Perdona por el rollo, pero me ha salido así.
If I may, I will try to summary and translate to English for our listeners, and then we can move to the answers. There were 2 questions. First one was talking about the previous Spanish scheme for renovation, which was very successful in terms of vulnerable houses because there was a tax exception. They received money as a subsidy, but it didn't count in their house budget, so they didn't have to pay to the tax agency afterwards. Because a common problem is that in vulnerable households, when they receive public aid, then they have to pay to the agency for the first time in their lives, because before they were exempted, and that's dramatic in vulnerable households. And the second question was regarding financing to vulnerable households as well, because there was a case in Barcelona where in a district they were trying to convince all the buildings to renovate, but they found that there were blockages in around 20% of the dwellings or in the buildings because they couldn't access financing as the criteria was set. So the attendee was asking regarding if there were guarantees, public guarantees for the banks so they can access to financing. So maybe Javier, you can answer both.
Yes. First, the tax question. No, it's true that it has worked very good and very well, and we are trying right now to extend these conditions, both the exception of paying the tax when you receive a subsidy, and also the deduction. We are trying to extend at least to 2026. It will go to the Parliament in the next weeks, probably with by the Ministry of Finance. And of course, it had to be a structural measure in the long term, because at least for those people who have less incomes, no? Because it's logical that if you give them a subsidy of imagine 20,000 euros in one per home, per family, in 1 year, they have to pay the next year 4,000 or 5,000 euros that can't afford that. No? So I think that at least for people with less resources, it has to be stable in time. It's true that it's a question not only of the Ministry of Finance, but also of the Parliament that has to approve this legal modification. But now we are, in the next weeks probably, before the end of the year, trying to extend these measures for the next year at least. In the question of banks is true, and that's why I said that when we face vulnerable families and vulnerable neighborhoods, we have to manage with different in different terms that we do when we face to a healthy family or a healthy building in the rest of the city. Of course, if the banks they don't want to give the loans, we have two options. We can guarantee the loans. That's one option. We have now a guarantee of the 50%, but probably when the loan is given to a very vulnerable people, we should increase this guarantee to give security to the banks. Or in the other case, we had to give the finance by the public banks, because here in Catalonia you have the ICF, in Spain we have the ICO, and there are public banks that are very interested in trying to develop these kind of activities that are not they cannot be afforded by the private banks in general. No? And I think I want to congratulate you, because I think that the example of here, the work that the metropolitan area of Barcelona is doing in terms of renovation, and specifically in terms of renovation of vulnerable neighborhoods, is incredible. It's incredible. The number of neighborhoods that they are going to, or you are going to, or are in fact renovating, and how you are going to, and the public administrations, I know because I know them very good, how they are going to the communities to explain the measures, to manage with them, to have a close relation. It's an exceptional example of how to manage with vulnerable neighborhoods.
Thank you very much, Javier. I think we are running out of time, so maybe we cannot have more questions online, maybe afterwards in the corridors. But I would like to enjoy these last 2 minutes to, first of all, thank you for coming here, but also to reflect a bit on all the things that we have said, because I think there is a huge amount of content that was said, different models, which maybe they are not so different, right? Between France and Spain, we have this collaboration between different levels. We have seen there is a need for tackling energy poverty, and also this rising issue of summer energy poverty, which has not been tackled yet, and integrating renovation policies with other policies to better deliver for the citizen a solution, because whenever we look in the backwards, we have all these systems, mechanisms, but when we look frontward, we just see people, family who doesn't understand this part, and we need these intermediaries. Can be public, can be private, and we all need this variety and this diversity of actors. And finally, I want to thank also the European Union, who has funded the EU Peers project that brings us today here. And I would like to encourage you to know the project, to register in the communities. We have communities at European level, but also at national level in France, in Spain, and many other European countries. Also thank the Diputación de Barcelona, who has brought us to this marvelous space in the city center. And that would be all. Thank you also for that in this online. And thank you very much for this very joyful conversation.
Thank you.